The Toronto Raptors have been doubted and disrespected all throughout the season, so it should come as no surprise that somebody like Shaquille O'Neal would say that the Raptors are going to get swept by the Philadelphia 76ers. But in today's video, we're going to go further into this and discuss why Shaq is so out of pocket for these comments. Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? It's Jacob here, back with Amateur Hour Sports for another Toronto Raptors YouTube video. If you want the greatest coverage and analysis on the latest Toronto Raptors news, then you need to be subscribed to Amateur Hour Sports. Help us on the road to 9,000 subs. And this video is powered by Betstamp. Use the Betstamp app to shop for the best competitive odds and track all of your sports wagers. If you're going to be betting on sports anyways, you need to be maximizing the value of all your bets. Betstamp finds the best places to place that sports wager so you can get the maximum amount of profit possible. Use the link in the description, download the Betstamp app today, and use code RAPS, R-A-P-S, on sign up to let them know that I sent you there. But our topic for today, yes, talking about these comments Shaquille O'Neal made, NBA on TNT analyst, and obviously one of the greatest players of all time, Shaq, had these words to say about the Raptors. Essentially, I mean, there wasn't much real discussion about it. Just flat out said that the Sixers are going to win this series in 4 against the Raptors. Naturally, Toronto Raptors fans who are quite easily aggravated, especially with people who doubt them online and whatnot, Raptors fans are pissed about this. And it makes complete sense. I mean, there are a variety of factors that would suggest that this series is go well beyond 4 games. And in fact, I think the Raptors have a very legitimate shot at winning this series. I think this is going to be a very closely contested series. And though the Sixers are the favorites, I'm starting to grow a little bit more confident each day goes by. The Raptors are going to win this series potentially in 7 games. But I understand. It's going to be a tight series, it's going to be a very competitive series. So to suggest that this is going to go 4 games is just an absolutely ridiculous take here. And now we're kind of going to look into maybe the validity of this statement. Did Shaq mean it? And then I'm going to really go in on why this series is flat out going beyond 4 games. So first of all, Shaq has a lot of outrageous takes. Shaq, I mean, look, phenomenal basketball player. If it wasn't for the fact he was a phenomenal basketball player, would he really have a job in NBA media? I don't really think so, but, you know, that's just kind of the case for NBA media these days. They find a lot of old players because those are the entertaining people that viewers like myself, like yourself, want to see. Shaq can say these things and we're entertained by it because it's Shaquille O'Neal. Wow, this is one of the most dominant players in the history of the game. Typically, you find just a random guy to talk about basketball. That's not really going to sit well on national television for the most part. And I think sometimes for people like Shaq, he really makes these outrageous takes, or he takes something he believes and then stretches it a little bit further just for a little bit more clickability, and that may be what happens in this scenario, saying that the Raptors are going to lose this series in 4. And then I think another part of what we can talk about here is that maybe Shaquille O'Neal just flat out doesn't really know anything about the Raptors. To his credit, he did say on the same show that he believes Scottie Barnes is the Rookie of the Year, so that's a good thing to see for Toronto Raptors fans. But from what I've seen from Shaq in the past, and based on the fact that the Raptors very rarely actually get on national television, I'm going to safely assume that Shaq just genuinely does not watch the Raptors much. Shaquille O'Neal, very busy guy. He's got all of his endorsement deals, all the companies he has a huge stake in, plus doing the show, NBA on TNT, where he's watching the nationally televised games. It's a pretty safe assessment of the situation that Shaq just flat out does not watch the Raptors much. Like, I would suggest he's only watched a handful of Raptors games this season. I think a little bit of validity and a little bit of proof is that one time he actually did not know what Siakam's first name was, even though he was about to do a segment on Siakam.
Start of the game, 5 out of 5 and 3 out of 3 in that first quarter when he scored 15 of his 17 points. But you got your eyes on Pascal.
No, I got my eyes on Siakam.
What? Pascal Siakam.
Oh, I never knew his first name.
Check, please.
First of all, I don't call him Pascal.
Okay.
So the fact that he doesn't even know Siakam's name is Pascal would lead me further to believe Shaq just flat out doesn't really watch the Raptors. And Shaq is typically pretty partial to fellow big men like Joel Embiid, so I think he's just kind of going with Joel Embiid in this discussion. I think he really wants to see Joel Embiid succeed, and maybe just his belief on the situation has spun it into believing that the Raptors are going to get swept in this series. But this is really just, again, a ridiculous take. If you're somebody on national television, you just got to do your homework a little bit more. No, everybody's got their opinion here, but you got to have some stuff to back up your claim, like a sweep. An absolute sweep of a series. Like, I think the Bucks are going to sweep the Chicago Bulls because they have nobody who is going to be able to stop Giannis, and I don't think there's any big hitters on that Chicago Bulls team who are going to be able to get it done in those games. Can anybody on the Chicago Bulls really step up to the next level and take down such a great defensive unit in the Bucks, and also on the defensive end be able to stop Giannis, stop Holiday Middleton? I don't quite think so. For Shaq, there wasn't really any statement to back up the claim the Raptors are going to lose in 4 here, but let me go into a little bit why the Raptors are not going to lose in 4 here and actually have a good chance at winning this series. So, for starters, the Raptors over the course of the season series, they won 3 out of the 4 games against the Philadelphia 76ers. Sure, there were some injuries for the Sixers over the course of those 4 games, but the Raptors were also dealing with injuries over the course of those games as well. So, I think as far as injuries go, kind of even for both of those teams. The Raptors showed up in all 4 of those games, and in the one they lost where they really were dealing with injuries, they kept it close. To be fair, all 4 games in the season series were very close nail-biters that came down to the last few possessions. That would make it seem like it's going to be a very close series, and for the neutral NBA viewer, what you typically get with a 4 and 5 series, 4 seed versus a 5 seed, is a close, competitive, entertaining series, and I really just can't see a sweep happening here. I just really cannot see it. Based on the way the Raptors defend Joel Embiid and James Harden, they throw out that defensive unit. If they can force up at least one bad performance from the duo, Joel Embiid and James Harden, I think there's going to be more than one time they do that. They're going to get the win. They have the tools offensively to get it done. And so far this season, Pascal Siakam, who's been criticized much in the past about not being able to get it done against the top teams in the league, against the top matchups, he has been absolutely awesome. He has been great against the 76ers this season, posing some phenomenal numbers, some phenomenal averages. Fred VanVleet has also been criticized in the past for his performances against the Sixers, notably en route to the NBA championship in 2019. Fred was just awful in this series against the 76ers because the matchups did not favor him there. Philadelphia have had a big team. Historically, over the last few years, they've had a big team. Ben Simmons as the opposition point guard for somebody who's undersized like Fred VanVleet. That is insanely difficult for him to get anything done. But without Ben Simmons on this team now, Fred VanVleet has actually done a lot better against the 76ers over the course of this season. And for the playoffs, Fred VanVleet in a much elevated role to the last time we were in the playoffs. I think he is going to take a bigger step here as well to really help us get some wins in this series. So, based on the fact that, we've got Pascal Siakam operating his absolute best. He's had a better season than James Harden. Sure, Joel Embiid is going to be the best player in this series. If the Raptors can limit him with the amount of 6'9", two-way athletic guys they can put on him on defense, like sometimes putting Joel Embiid in a triple team. Also, Matisse Thybulle missing games 3, 4, and potentially game 6 because he refuses to meet the vaccine requirements to enter Canada. It is what it is. I have a full video on that discussion before I go any further into that. The Raptors have at least one win in this series. Like, that is a generous statement. That is a very, very generous statement, in my opinion. The Raptors have at least one game in this series, and to just outlandishly say that they are going to get swept is just flat out ridiculous again. I think you could genuinely go to a lot of Philadelphia 76ers fans and, if they're being completely honest, look, they're going to be confident they can win this series, and they're the favorites. They're going to, of course, be confident they can win this series. But Sixers fans with any sort of realism, any sort of realistic idea of anything about the NBA will know that this is a dangerous opponent in the Raptors. The Raptors are going to be a very difficult team to play against, and beating them 4 times over the course of 7 games is going to be insanely difficult, and the Raptors are going to make the Sixers work for absolutely everything in this series. So, no, it's not impossible for this series to go 4 games, but I just really cannot see it. I don't expect there to be more than one blowout in this series. I think that every game is going to be within at the absolute max. If this series goes to 7 games, I think 6 out of 7 of those games are 10-point differences at the end of the game. I think we are going to have a lot of close games here, and I just genuinely think this is going to be a very closely contested series. Raptors fans are confident, though they are aware of the threat the Sixers possess. Sixers fans, for the most part, what I've seen online, are confident, but again, are aware of the threat that the Toronto Raptors possess. They are aware of the effect that we can have on Joel Embiid, how we can deter his performances, and they are aware of James Harden playoff performances, which, have historically, he has been a little bit of a letdown sometimes, and we've been seeing a little bit of that playoff Harden in the last little stretch of the regular season. So what sort of James Harden are we going to get for the playoffs? So Toronto Raptors all throughout the season have been disrespected, all throughout the last decade. have been disrespected. Even though 8 of the last 9 years we've made the playoffs, the Raptors are just continuously disrespected. But what they always do is rise above the criticism. They take that underdog mentality, bring it to their game, and they surprise people. They continue to surprise people and to think, I mean, it shouldn't really be a surprise anymore. The Raptors are a good basketball team and a model franchise in the NBA. They've been a winning franchise for 8 of the last 9 years. That is a very impressive thing to do for a Toronto Raptors team that spent 20 years trying to win 48 games. And now we're in a transition year and we still win 48 games. That is just a remarkable feat from the franchise. Not to mention that, we were 23-23, I think, at one point. We have been on an absolute tear since December. The Raptors are one of the hottest teams in the NBA. So just over a 4-game span, they're going to lose all 4. It's just not going to happen. The Raptors, at the minimum to me, are getting 1 win in this series, but I'm backing them to possibly, maybe I'm going to say, they get it done in 7. So what do you guys make of Shaq's comments here? Is he out of pocket, or are the Sixers actually going to take down the Raptors in 4? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, because that is it for me for today. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please drop a like on the video if you did enjoy. Let's get to 200 likes in this video. And if you want to see the greatest coverage and analysis on the latest Toronto Raptors news, you got to be subscribed to AmateurHour Sports. We're going to have so much great content coming for the possible playoff run for the Raptors, so make sure you stay tuned. Join our Discord to continue the conversation online and sign up to Betstamp with code RAPS. All the links for those things are in the description, plus a little bit of extra stuff that you may want to check out. Go check that out, and I'll see you again next time for another video.